us kind of women pisses off these kind of guys.
Right.
Because they already blame women that we have the option to either accept or reject. And how dare we say no or deny them that pleasure?
Welcome back to Muse on the Mic. I'm Riley.
And I'm Emily. Thanks again, guys, for joining us on another great episode of Muse on the Mic. We've got a really special one today. We are talking about something near and dear to our hearts and definitely to yours and your body parts. But first, like the video, subscribe to the channel, of course. Share, comment below. Let's get into conversation about this. Definitely want to hear your opinions on this one. And make sure you're following us on social media, which you'll find all those links in the caption below. And quick backstory on us. We own a spicy massage parlor in Toronto, Canada. It's been open for coming up on 15 and a half years. Let's add that in, 0.5. And we just love to talk about everything in the industry, behind the scenes, what it's like, sex, relationships, naughty things. And today's topic, Riley, what are we getting into?
Well, we're diving into Movember because it is prostate awareness or prostate cancer awareness month. So we're talking about your prostate, you guys, and also diving into a bit of a controversial topic, No Nut November. So let's dive into that and see what, I know Emily's got some big thoughts on it, but I want to know what you guys think about it too.
I'm sure our regular viewers are shocked to hear this news, Riley. Emily has opinions? What? I love it. But on that note, let's start off with Movember because I think that really is the most important one, right? We love men. We've voiced that and do an entire series on it all the time. We want to champion their health and their wellness, their importance in the world. And that's the whole point of Movember. It's about their bums. It's about their bum health. It's about prostate cancer awareness, prostate checks, and making sure you go get things like your colonoscopies and everything you need. It is also a charity thing. So go on Movember.com and you can always donate or find an organization near you that's doing all kinds of charity work, that's doing things for prostate cancer research, which I think is just fantastic. I love when men join together on a common mission. It's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm. And I think with prostate cancer, it's one of those cancers that, if detected, is highly treatable. So all the more reason to get checked and take care of your health, because ignoring this problem, which I know you men like to do sometimes, will not go well. It's true.
It's very true. They're not the first to run to the doctor, whereas we get like a scratch and we're like, and off we go, right? But I get it. I mean, who wants to be like, great, I'm going to have some guy stick a finger up my ass today? Well, some people would like that. It depends on what kind of spice you are. But in general, it can be scary. Listen, there's times I've avoided the doctor too when I almost for sure know some bad news is probably going to come of it. It's anxiety inducing, but like you said, it's very treatable. Both of us over the past few years have had personal experience with people with prostate cancer and their fabulous recovery. So I think it's very important for people to stay on top of it because we're blessed to be in an era where medicine has advanced so much that there are options, because before those options, men were dropping even more like flies. So it's one of those things that sneaks up on you probably when you least expect it. And so therefore, once a year, once every 2 years, go get your stuff checked, boys. But I looked up some research about Movember and found a few interesting things, because I think this goes right up our alley. Because nowadays, it is also known to raise money, not just for prostate health, but men are the highest percentage of people that unalive themselves. And that is not only heartbreaking, it is also common amongst athletes. It's common amongst veterans, and just a whole sector of people that find themselves in kind of overwhelmed with loneliness. And not everyone can afford a place like Muse for a little affection and connection and community. But hopefully they're here on this pod in our little community here and listening in, because we really do care. And we're not doctors by any stretch, but we might have answers or solutions on things you can do to at least look out for your prostate health in the meantime, in between those doctor's visits. All the feels. I love it. So I looked up some things, and it started in Australia in 2003, which is crazy to think Movember's been around for 21 years now. That's really There's not many movements that last that long. And they've clearly made a ton of progress, raised a
Yeah.
ton of money, that it's now spread initially just to Canada, US, UK, and Spain, and now is a global movement, which
Mm,
that's fucking awesome. There's billions and billions of people.
that's amazing.
Like everybody on the same team is so rare with our divided world. I absolutely love that. And it started with two guys in Australia that thought it'd be fun to bring back the mustache and to find
Mm,
different ways to grow their mustache and raise charity for it,
yeah.
just the way kids would do a walkathon or
Yeah.
for heart and those kind of things back, eh? and and raise money for a good cause. And dudes loved it. It took off, and everyone's like, I need a mustache for a month. I'm gonna look like a porn star for a month. And of course, we're like, hey,
It's so funny because I see it all the time on women's social media that are like, "Oh no, it's Movember. Like I have to deal with I mean, love them or hate them. Everyone has a different opinion on them, but there's definitely some that are like, "No." But you know what? It is a really good cause, and raising money and awareness, and to mark it in your calendar that November is check your bum month. Like it's just an annual reminder to do so, right?
just peach emojis everywhere. But you know what? Listen, I'm not mad at a mustache. I mean, they're funny looking on someone who doesn't necessarily suit it. And it definitely appears like a porn stash. Like you literally look
Yeah.
like a 70s porn star, like Boogie Nights all over again. But listen, beards are and facial hair is so trendy and has been for a very long time now
Hmm.
for men that like change up the stash a little bit.
Hmm.
Just like you might go from a little chin strap to a full beard or trim that stuff back or a little 5 o'clock shadow with a lineup, rock mustache, try different things. There's some very fashionable, trendy men that even do the curly ones. And listen, it's not my favorite choice, but it suits their style so much
Hmm.
that I'm
Yeah.
like, you would almost look weird with any other kind of mustache. Like it totally
Yeah.
suits your face. And I just love the variety. And men have always been known to do certain hair things. I mean, sports teams shave their heads all the time, random
Yeah.
stuff. That's heartbreaking when it's a gorgeous guy with a long, luscious thing of hair. But listen, they're not shaving their beards and going naked face. So let them grow a stash.
Hmm. I agree. But I mean, on the same topic of prostate health and Movember, there's also this controversy of the no nut November and the semen retention or retaining your semen or testosterone buildup that I think there's some interesting facts about it. I have kind of some information on both sides that is interesting to me, but at the same time, it goes against prostate health. It's working against you trying to have good prostate health. So it's what are your thoughts on it?
Oh, sigh. It's weird. It's weird. I mean, it sounds like a funny expression, right? So it's catchy, and I get that.
Yeah.
But it's not stemmed from anything good. It's based in complete nonsense pseudoscience. It is not fact, reality, or healthy.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, we're in an era where information like that, whether you call it misinformation, false information, fake news, whatever you want to dub it by, it spreads like wildfire in 2.2 seconds across global platforms in a millisecond, and there's no undoing it. And this information spreads. Listen, we saw it in the panorama. Fake news and real news spread just as fast, and both
Mhm.
were completely opposite sides of the coin. Everyone was confused. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things. I did again a little bit of research. I've got a sweet little Reddit post to read about it too, but it started in 2011, but it
Okay.
really started to take off in 2017. And I love a little political slice because what the fuck happened in 2017? Who was in charge in 2017? Mr. Fake News himself. I'll leave it at that. But it
Okay.
started on a website called 4chan, which is an obscure, off kilter, dark webish type website. There was a spinoff of another site called 8chan. And this is where the QAnon theory established itself, which was the explosion of incel culture. And regardless of what you believe, regardless of your politics, I hope our listeners are not QAnon people. I'd like to think them a little smarter than that. But it targeted a genre of people that were already isolated, already like a sponge for new information or something to kind of join into a community about, get really hyped about. We saw that play out in politics south of our border over the past 8 freaking years, and apparently now for 4 more. But it spreads. It spreads like wildfire. And people, I mean, anytime you think back when you were a kid and you were like on a team, all of a sudden you were like, we're going to win the next game. Like it's all you live and breathe and think about all the
Yeah.
time, right? When you're gassed about something. I did a lot of like theater performances when I was a kid, or like I was a dancer and did like real performances. So when you're in rehearsal weeks and you're getting down to the wire and like you're in the studio all the time, it's all you think about. You're
Yeah.
immersed in it. And when you dive into something new that interests you, and then you find friends. I mean, people that hated the gym suddenly find the gym, make friends, and now they want to be at the gym all the time. And most
Right.
of it's social. So
Yeah.
that's why they always meet for the same step class every Saturday afternoon and then go for lunch. Like you get into it. And people got into this. And it started in the UK. For the UK, they call jerking off or masturbating fap. To fap is or fapping, and so it was no fap became this like category on just absurd levels on these obscure websites, and it developed in such like a cult like mentality, which is a lot of incel culture. It's very we are one, we are together, us versus the whores. Like
Right.
it's very anti women as well. Um, and it was spread a lot by memes and has since evolved to also include destroy dick december, which I'd had to do a little digging on this one because I didn't know about this one until I started doing this research. But it's kind of like if this is already an extreme category and sector of
Mhm.
people, but with every sector of people there's extreme right, extreme left, right? And so
Okay.
they are way out on the extremes of this one that comes into a lot of CBT, cock and ball torture, and
Okay.
that dips into that. So you've held in all this semen, you're apparently raging with testosterone now, and we're going to see what else your dick can take and to push those limits. So it's really limit pushing, kind of like Jackass was for your physical well-being.
Right.
You're now pushing your sexual smart health. I mean, we're all for play and creativity, right? And trying things and having fun, but there's healthy and non-healthy ways to do it. And it shouldn't be like, how close can I get to the ER? Like we
Right.
need to be logical about this kind of stuff. And the premise being that the more and longer you retain this semen, the more godlike you become. And they don't mean that as in like a priest being like,
Hmm.
I'm going to be ascended to the angels once I go to the pearly gates. They very much mean it in a sense that it will make me like a god, like Thor, like I am man, hear me roar kind of vibe. And you'll see comments on these boards or these websites like, day 15 without nutting. I'm floating on air like a god right now. Nothing can stop me. And then they live and make more risky life choices because they're feeling this like false sense of hyper, in my opinion, toxic masculinity, because
Hmm.
that's not a healthy masculinity. And there it also makes a lot of decisions and puts them in a mindset that's actually quite repellent to women, even though they've convinced themselves the more testosterone and the more quote unquote alpha or manly they are, they're just going to get all the women. And women are like, because that's so incredibly toxic. That's not the alphas we're actually attracted to,
Right.
right?
Oh, hey, welcome back to Just the Tip with Riley. So today we're diving into a Did You Know segment, and our focus is about the clitoris. The clit is one of the most fascinating parts of the human anatomy. And today I want to shine a light on this often misunderstood magical erogenous zone. Despite popular thought, the clitoris is not just that pea-sized piece that sits between the labia. The clit is more like an iceberg, mostly visible beneath the surface, wrapping around the vaginal tunnel and extending out towards the thighs. The little part that we're seeing and feeling are just the tiny little glands grouped together, creating the head of the clitoris. The clit is made up of 18 distinct parts, a mixture of erectile tissue, muscles, bulbs, legs, and over 8,000 nerves.
If this tip isn't enough, subscribe to Patreon for the whole thing.
Anyway, I know you have some facts to read too, but before I get in the Reddit post, talk to me because that's kind of what I found. The destroy dick December threw me, just a
Well,
lot to throw me.
I don't have like a ton of facts about it, but just to kind of give something to the other side, because I think we're both kind of coming at this episode in a this is crazy, like there's no use in it kind of standpoint. But there's a few things that stood out to me that I get it, like it makes a little bit of sense. And I think
Right.
focus is, I think for both sexes, but especially men, when they're not in sexual pursuit, they can be hyper focused, whether
True.
that's coming up to an interview or a big game or just something they really want to, it's exam time. Like, I'm not going to be having sex. And it's not just the act of the sex, but I think it's, again, the sexual pursuit. So I think in doses, sperm retention or like abstinence can be helpful. I don't think it really is helpful from like a physical or medical aspect, but more so just, again, like more mental, spiritual, like those kind of thoughts. So I think there's benefit to it. I
True.
think both of sexes. I mean, I'm kind of in a stage of my life where I'm committing to a period of abstinence. And I think it does take that pressure away. It's just a thought of I'm focused on me. That's all I care about at the moment for different reasons. And it's taking that sexual appetite and removing it.
Well, that opens a whole nother topic that I will totally dive into, but you're very right because there is that thing about like, don't have sex with your wife the night before a big game. Like that's a
Right.
real thing, right? Keep that extra little tension in there. But I think a few days or the night before a game is very different from a whole month, right? You
Mhm.
need for your prostate health, for your testicular health, you need to, for your hormonal system, you need to expel those fluids. You need to flush your system. So ejaculation is the process of doing that. Be like holding in your bladder for as long as you fucking can. Listen, you couldn't do that for a month, but over holding your bladder is very dangerous and detrimental and harms the
Mhm.
muscles of your bladder that teach you to hold in your pee. You'll be leaking
Mhm.
everywhere in no time. Like there's reasons for that. But I too have been in an abstinence phase. Different methods that we both got there, but in a way, very similar reasons, very similar paths. And
Mhm.
you just kind of have to detox a little and then you get really hyper focused. But that our us kind of women pisses off these kind of guys
Right.
because they already blame women that we have the option to either accept or reject. Some of
Mhm.
them already think they should just be entitled. Let's just call it what it is, entitled to pussy. And how dare we say no or deny them that pleasure, etc. But be damned, not only the sex worker, already do I hate you, but now you want me to pay you for this shit? Like to them,
Right.
it's outrageous. But on top of that, now you think you have the audacity to be employed, a business owner, successful, and now decide to be abstinent as if you don't need a man. Like
Right.
that shit makes them livid and they blame for what they consider the epidemic of male loneliness right now. And it's like, well, we've kind of gone like this in ethics and morals and that's the reason that's the real reason why. And they blame us just going this direction and choosing the bear over a man lost in a
Right.
forest. And there's no concept of understanding of that. So, on that note, I'm going to read this little Reddit thing because it perfectly encompasses how twisted this mentality is. So, this is just a random comment I found, but it's brilliant. No Nut November is a ridiculous amalgamation of shrieking religious zealotry, pseudoscience, racism, sexism, and anti Semitism. Reasonable people don't do it. Reasonable people don't try to do it. It was made up by kids and young men on the Reddit NoFap community. And is one of the most absurd stewpots of pseudoscience this side of crystal healing websites or a flat earther convention. It was jumped on by the Proud Boys, an alt-right neo-Nazi group in America. When X Hamster, who is a famous incel on Twitter, posted a tweet making fun of No Nut November, they were buried under a deluge of openly racist and anti-Semitic replies, which should tell you everything you need to know about the kind of people that No Nut November attracts. No
Mhm.
Nut November is championed on incel sites. Some of its champions claim that semen has magic powers. Literally, I'm not making this up, actual magic powers. And that semen retention attracts women. I'd say it's as absurd and patently stupid as lizard alien conspiracy theories. And that would be insulting to lizard alien believers. So if someone is about to fail No Nut November, I'd say it's okay. Go ahead, wank. It won't hurt you. When November comes to an end, why don't we try a new challenge called Critical Thinking December? I was like, because that's
Yeah.
exactly it. And this is why it's important to make sure young men don't get lost in these channels, because it starts at Joe Rogan and ends up on 4chan or
Right.
Discord or Twitch rooms or why Omegle got shut down. Like it really spirals really fast.
Yeah.
And it's scary, not just for women, but these men will not just continue to be living in this hate cell that they've kind of locked themselves in. That's it, like that community is, and the togetherness, the feeling of camaraderie is fueled specifically around anger, but it's repelling the one thing they want exponentially at that point.
Right.
You are not attracting women when this is what you do with your downtime and this is what you quote unquote believe. And it can stem into lighter parts of politics. It can go all the way to religion. It can go to abortion issues. It can go to how you vote. But this is also why voting's so important, because there needs to be votes that cancel these people. These people vote,
Right.
as we
That's
saw,
scary.
right?
Yeah.
And it's very scary. They're walking around the world, they get angry, they shoot up schools, they go into sex workers' places and murder sex workers. It happened in Miami, right? Like there's a lot that comes from it. And it's a growing community, which is terrifying. So
Yeah.
parents and boys out there, keep an eye on what they do online, even if they're 19,
Hmm.
because they're susceptible from like 12
Yeah.
till 36. Like they're really that influential. Um, so Nut November is my jam. Check your bomb, stick
Yeah.
fingers in places, do all the things.
And go to Muse for a prostate massage or a backstage pass.
That like once a month in between doctor's appointments, if for nothing else, then your better health. I think it's so important, but you have opportunities and options, which is fantastic. These men could find, listen, maybe they don't want to pay for it forever, but they could spend a year going to some clubs, going to some parlors, going to some agencies, learning some moves,
Yeah.
learning some riz, some charms, some chit chat, how to talk, how to banter, and actually get the things that they need.
I agree.
On that note, my rants, I think that wraps up this episode. But yay for men, yay for healthy men, yay for research. Always do your own as well. And check all your good stuff this month, guys. We love
Happy
you.
November, guys.
Happy
Bye.
November. See you later.